What's going on, YouTube? This is my third video blog about teaching English in Korea through the EPIK program. And for my third blog, I'd like to talk a little bit about the EPIK orientation, the infamous EPIK orientation. I don't know why I went like this, maybe to add a little mystique to it. So I'm just going to keep this just a little brief and just share a little bit about my experience and some of the experience of my friends that came through the EPIK program and did the mandatory EPIK orientation. So once you're accepted into the EPIK program, they're going to let you know when you have to be in Korea and when to book your flight. So once you figure that out, there's two cycles that EPIK typically hires for. There's the August intake, and then there's like the February-March intake. So those are like the two hiring cycles, one in the beginning of August and typically one in the beginning of March or late February. So I came through the August 2012 intake, and it was pretty crazy. Like, you fly out from your city or state or province, and once you come to Korea, you're on that flight, and you're just thinking like, holy crap, like, what am I getting myself into? Like, I'm totally alone on this flight, and I don't speak Korean. How am I going to get by? And a lot of things are going through your head, and there's that big build-up for once you finally land. Like, for me personally, when I first landed in Seoul Incheon Airport, that's when things start to get really serious, because you put at least a 5 or 6 month effort into applying to Korea, getting into Korea, saving money up, buying your flight, and going through all the hoops and ladders with your recruiter, or if you apply directly through the EPIK website, and finally getting all your paperwork together, which takes just a long process, and having that come to an end, and the beginning of your actual contract is when you get to Korea. So, like, just a little story about mine. I originally missed my flight. Well, I didn't miss my flight. I was flying out of Newark in New Jersey, and I got there like typically 2 hours before international flights, and I was just hanging out in the boarding area, and I was, just fiddling around with my iPad, listening to music, and just checking stuff online and stuff like that. Just killing time, basically. And typically about 30 minutes, they'll start boarding for flights. And 30 minutes prior to my flight taking off, there was nobody there checking tickets, or there was nobody really actually physically at the boarding area. So that's when I started to get a little scared. And I went and checked with the airline, and lo and behold, my flight had been canceled. And I didn't have a direct flight to Korea. I actually had a layover in Chicago, and I would change flights and then fly from Chicago direct to Seoul. And there was like a small window. So like my flight was really early in the morning, I think around like 9 in the morning from Newark International in New Jersey. And then it takes about like an hour or so to get to Chicago. And then I had almost like 40 minutes to rush from the plane in Chicago, the plane getting to Chicago, and then boarding my next flight to Seoul. And when that was canceled, everyone bum rushed, the airlines. And make a long story short, I had to find another flight, and I had to go through a separate airline, and my parents had to come back to the airport after they had dropped me off and take me to another airport in New York City, JFK Airport, and I had to fly from JFK directly. So thankfully I got a flight, but it was just such a headache, because the night before I stayed up all night like an idiot with my friends. I had like a bonfire at my house as like a going away party kind of a deal. I had an original going away party, but this was like just for my small circle of friends and like my brother and sister, so I was just like, screw it, I got, a 14 or 15 hour flight, like I'll just sleep the whole ride. That's totally cool with me. Let's stay up all night. So I wound up hanging out all night long with my buddies and didn't get any sleep. So I'm in the airport completely red-eyed and just wasted off, like no sleep, and I was binging on coffee just to keep myself conscious. And my bags had issues because I had to switch airlines, and it was just such a headache. So that was like my first experience of flying to Korea. I finally eventually got into Seoul, and my bags are still in transit. So I only had like my carry-on bag and my book bag with me, and that had to last me through the week of orientation till the rest of my bags came to meet up with me at orientation. So it was a complete nightmare. Like once I got to Korea, everyone says like, oh, Korea has 4 seasons, 4 distinct seasons. There's like a running joke in Korea that they just have 2. It's just summer and winter. You know, spring and fall literally go by in like a blink of an eye. That was a weak snap. My hands are cold, so I don't really get the friction I needed. I don't know, whatever. You get the point. So, yeah, I went from like it being summer in New Jersey, which wasn't too hot, to coming to Korea, and the humidity was just ungodly. Like as soon as I got off the airline, it was like whoosh, just like a complete heat wave, and you immediately start sweating. And add in the fact that I had barely any sleep on the plane. I was, like I said, up for over 24 hours. I was freaking out about my bags because I was like all my stuff in there, all my clothes, all my things I had, like gifts I had bought for my school, from my co-teachers and principals, and just like photo albums that friends of mine had gave to me for going away presents. And I was just freaking the hell out. I get to the airport, I'm by myself, and most Koreans know basic English. So I had to go to the airline and try to tell them what the hell happened with my bags and blah, blah, blah. And once you get to Seoul, Incheon Airport, you're going to have to meet up with your EPIK program people, and they'll be meeting at like a specific gate. But Seoul Incheon Airport is huge, and navigating it it's not difficult, but it's definitely not easy because it's just a really large airport. So my suggestion is once you get there, God forbid your bags aren't, misplaced or missing, find information, find the gate. You'll have all this information prior to you coming. Your recruiter will tell you, hey, listen, you're going to have to meet at this gate between these hours for a shuttle bus that'll take you to your orientation site. So you won't really have orientation in Seoul. Everyone will fly to Seoul, but from the airport in Seoul, you're going to take a bus to your orientation site. Now, my bus took me about 2 hours south to Daejeon. Daejeon is like in the middle, kind of like the middle of the country, like almost directly in the center, actually. And I had orientation at a university. 9 times out of 10, you're going to have your orientation site at a Korean university. So because you're at a university, you're given a roommate, which is pretty sweet because it's automatically you're meeting someone else that's in the same shoes as you, from possibly all from a different part of the world, and you guys can connect through just the awkwardness of being in Korea for the first time potentially each, and 9 times out of 10 that's going to be your first friend, is your roommate. You don't really get to choose. They kind of stick you with someone. You can ask like, hey, listen, I flew with this person on the flight, do you mind if I room with them? And they're totally cool with it. EPIK does like a really good job of organizing things for you as well. I had no problem once I figured out which gate I had to go to, finding out where I needed to get my bags, and EPIK really helped me with that. They did a really good job of like supporting you and getting you to the shuttle to the EPIK orientation site. So at the EPIK orientation site, it's going to be about a week of classes. And by classes, I mean actual classes. It's actually like school. So you're getting up at like 7 in the morning and for an 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock class, and then you have classes all throughout the day. Your lunch and everything is paid for, so you don't really have to worry about that. But you don't really have a lot of downtime. My orientation was, in the beginning, really shitty. Like, everyone was jet lagged. Last thing people want to do is sit in a class and hear people lecture, once you're like jet lagged and everything else. But forcing yourself to get up and go to these classes really helped. The classes range from like handling student, like classroom management, how to be an effective teacher, like teaching tools, teaching resources. EPIK does a good job of bringing in like 4 or 5 seasoned, experienced teachers that have taught in Korea, and they're all foreigners like you. So there'll be expat teachers that live in Korea for X amount of years that either teach at the university level or teach at a public school through EPIK that they've continued at for X amount of years, and they're pretty excellent. I had some awesome professors and teachers that really gave you a lot of resources and a lot of confidence to begin teaching, even if you had zero teaching experience, like I did before I came to Korea. And they go over a wide range of things. They give you some websites like waygook.org. That's like the ESL teacher's Bible in Korea. Like, it's basically a website that you can download materials from, and it'll have your book. I don't know if I have the book handy here. Yeah, hold on. So I have my... Here, let me get a better book. Ugh. So this is my... I actually confiscated this from one of my 5th graders because she was just writing like bad words all over it, so I decided to give her a new book. You can see how obsessed they are over their little pop stars and K-pop people and stuff like that. But what's cool about Waygook is it's all of the Korean textbooks. So the Korean public schools all have like universal education, so all the textbooks are pretty much uniform. And if they're not uniform, they all at least have like the same kind of lessons. So like if you're doing comparatives, you know, one of the titles would be "It's Big," and then you have to compare big and small. And then someone else's textbook will be "He's tall," and then it would be comparing, you know, height and stuff like that, width, all obviously as well, with people's weight and stuff like that. So they're all generally the same, and Waygook was really good, and the professors were really helpful in giving you those kinds of resources and materials for you to go on and get familiar with some of the teaching material that's available online through other teachers that have taught in Korea. Some of the other lectures you have is like a crash course in Korean. I didn't really learn much from it, to be honest with you, because I was just, my head was spinning from just everything else that was going on around me, that I didn't really have time to really focus on learning the language. I've lived here a year and a half, so I can read Korean, I can write basic Korean, and I can speak basic Korean. By no means do I feel comfortable saying that I speak Korean, because I really don't. I speak survival Korean. I can get myself to and from like locations. I can ask for things. I can answer basic questions about myself, and I can order food. So I know like the basics, and that really went a long way. But they'll teach you some basic stuff like in Korean that'll try and give you a little bit of confidence of trying to navigate once you're out of the EPIK orientation. So the EPIK orientation, like I said, is 7 days, and 5 days, about a week, and you can't really go out and party, which kind of sucks. Not that you would be there to party, but you're in a foreign country and you kind of want to experience, you know, your surroundings. And you get one day where you don't really have classes, and that for me was Thursday. So Thursday night, no one had any night classes, and classes go from like 8 or 9 in the morning to almost like 8 o'clock at night. And then after that, everyone gets dinner and hangs out, plays cards or something like that, and then goes to bed for the next classes the following day. But on Thursday, we didn't have like an evening class, and we didn't have to get up Friday till maybe like 9 or 10 o'clock. So everyone decided to go out. And EPIK is going to warn you, like, no drinking alcohol in the dorms. You know, some orientation sites have curfews. Unfortunately, my orientation site had both, so we weren't allowed to drink in the rooms, and we weren't allowed to smoke in the rooms, because you can smoke on campus in Korea, like smoke cigarettes and stuff like that, but they don't want you smoking in the room. They don't really have like smoke detectors per se, but you can smoke outside of the building, and they really try to prohibit people staying up too late. So they had like a 10 or 11 o'clock curfew, and it wasn't really enforced. But everyone typically goes out one night, and that is usually a complete shit show. My orientation group kind of ruined it for the people that followed us. So the people that came in like February, March of 2013, I apologize if you guys had some really strict rules. It's probably because of my intake, to be honest. My group went out really crazy. I went out with like a big group of people. We went out for our first Korean meal together, because you eat cafeteria food at the university, and it sucks. It's really, really shitty. It's typical cafeteria food, so it's as bad as it gets. You know, imagine your school, university's cafeteria food, or your school lunches when you were in middle and high school. It's kind of like that, and except Korean version. And they'll throw in like every now and then the Western style dish would be like French fries and a hamburger or something like that, but it still sucks. So everyone goes out like one night, and I would really suggest being careful that one night. Epic's not gonna hold your hand, and they're not gonna like reprimand you and like be this like mother father figure for you when you're there, in terms of just like, don't do this, don't do that. They tell you the rules and they expect you to be professional and adults about it. And my group kind of took advantage of that a little bit. And a lot of people were drinking in the dorms. A lot of people were smoking cigarettes in the dorms, in their dorm rooms. People came in at like 4 in the morning, wasted. Like I heard stories of people just absolutely wasted, talking to like the EPIK coordinator, and the EPIK coordinator is like, "Come on, man, like go to bed. Like I'm not really trying to talk to you all wasted. I'm not trying to yell at you either, but you're here to do a job, and yes, you're here to travel and experience the country and enjoy yourself, but for 1 week or 5 days." First, when you get here, my biggest suggestion would just be professional. Like you have to go to the classes because they check attendance. So you don't want to miss a class, because if you miss a class, you won't get your little certificate. And if you don't get your certificate, you have to, I guess, do it again, or you may be sent home. So be professional. Don't be late for things. Don't miss a class. By all means, go out and experience your surrounding area. Have fun. Go out and have a few drinks. Just know your limit and don't take advantage of it, because like I said, this is a job and you should treat it as such, and you should be professional. And as foreigners, we already have this reputation as people that come to Korea to kind of a little bit take advantage and get wasted and act silly and stupid, because it's not our home country. So therefore we kind of treat it like it's a little mini vacation. And we're all guilty of that to an extent, but it doesn't help the reputation of the expat teachers here that have been here for a while, that are trying to be professional and take their job serious. Don't be that, that teacher or that individual that goes out and, gets wasted and pukes all over the place and causes a scene, or gets into fights with Koreans, or even gets into fights with other people in the orientation, which does happen. Again, I'm reiterating, just be professional and conduct yourself as such. If you're just getting out of university, this is your first real salary job, and that's fantastic. And nothing would suck more than putting in 6 months of effort and saving all this money up out of pocket to come to Korea, and then once you get into orientation, you screw up in some way and you get in trouble and you get sent home. There was a guy from the UK in my group that unfortunately got really drunk, and he passed out in the common area with his pants off and shoes and everything. And he had some incidents, and there was a big major incident with him going into someone's room and doing something in their bathroom floor. I'm not going to say what, but you can figure it out. I'll just say that he missed the toilet, and it wasn't number 1. And he was so drunk, he stepped in it and walked out of the room and caused a big scene. And he got sent home, and that sucks. Like I feel really genuinely bad for that individual, because like I said, you do put a lot of time and effort into coming here, and nothing is more embarrassing than having something like that happen, or something even less extent, that getting drunk and getting in trouble with someone else in the group, and having that stick, or having that reputation, and then having to be sent home. And that sucks. So be responsible, conduct yourself in a way that you feel best represents who you are as a person, and which best represents your country. Because you are an ambassador of your country. So treat it very serious. By all means, have a good time too. Take notes. You're going to learn a lot, and ask questions. These professors here, they're here to help you, and 9 times out of 10, they're going to give you their email and their contact information, and they're going to give you resources, and you should take advantage of that. Bring like a USB, like little plug-in that you can save stuff to your hard drive and stuff like that. Bring that with you. That's worth its money in gold. As a teacher, it's really important to build a catalog of different resources and materials to use to teach, and sharing that. And those teachers through the EPIK program did a really good job at sharing their knowledge and sharing the materials that they have used that were successful, and they've sure helped me. So again, this is the EPIK orientation blog. If you have any other questions, feel free to comment or shoot me a message. Good luck. Bye.